Hey guys, welcome. I have another interview for you guys today. Thank you for tuning on in today. Welcome to Crushing the Meta. My name is JJ. Hopefully, y'all are doing great, especially in these times. It's kind of weird these days. Right now, we have another special guest with us today, from all the way from WCC. Wirab Cardfight Counseling, also known as World Class Card Fighters. WCC is a plethora of real well-established players in the scene with 29 players in their roster. And right now we have one of the spokespersons for that organization, Kai. How are you doing, Kai?
Going fine. Yeah, I'm Kai. How's it going, guys? From Australia, in case you didn't know my accent. From WCC. Yeah, it's good. I hope you guys are all doing well in this kind of environment. And yeah, you might know me. I did commentate Worlds once, and I like playing Vanguard.
Yeah.
I also play Wise.
Yeah, I was just about to say, even though most of your notable wins, or some of the ones when you started, were like a year or two before you even started playing Vanguard seriously. So yeah, how was the difference between Weiss and Vanguard actually? What got you into Vanguard?
So actually, I did start playing Vanguard first,
Oh.
but yes, I played the JP version of Vanguard at the beginning. Because Australia had a big JP scene for it before they slowly transitioned to English. But yeah, so I played JP Vanguard first, and then I started playing JP Weiss. And Weiss JP Weiss is still a big thing in Sydney, in Australia as well. So that just lasts for a long time. But after a while, I transitioned into English because that's where all the big tournaments were, right?
Of course.
So that's why in the beginning, it's just there's just been nothing for Vanguard, and then later on started taking Vanguard a bit more seriously, especially with English. So that's where it started. That's why all these weird Y stuff first, and then English.
Okay. So like, as soon as the environment developed a little more for Vanguard, you were like, well, you know what? I'm just gonna step into this playing field and just enjoy that a little bit. Are you the person who's solely making content on the channel? Because most of the videos that I've seen so far of you, or of the channel in WCC, have been just of you, maybe featuring Andy, maybe featuring some of the other guests, like some of the other players, like Andy.
Yeah.
mostly Andy. but are you the only person who's been making content on the channel?
It's mostly me. At the beginning, we had some different ideas, but in the end, we kind of needed a person to just continue just making stuff every once in a while at least. And then recently has been more daily. So it has been mostly me because I have probably more free time. I'm actually really interested in learning how to do video editing and things like that. So because before I started, I had no idea how to edit a video. I didn't even know what programs used. But nowadays, I have a better idea and I have a more better appreciation for cameraing and video editing. And I do try to get I try and get some more people involved, or just at least put them as guests so people kind of know more of who WCC is.
Yeah. And
I think recently the Weiss more Weiss focused people have been making some interesting content, which is like the exhibition match on with the Japanese players for Weiss. So they've been doing that last Saturday, and then they're gonna do more coming up. So just getting more exposure to those people too.
Okay. Now, so talking about WCC itself as an organization, right? Since you're one of the key faces of it at the moment, how did you even get into it at all? I mean, mostly you guys are comprised of World Championship players, but of course, it has to start somewhere. How did it even come about?
So, in Australia, there's a lot of different groups of players. We were just the Sydney guys, and we go to Melbourne for usually the national championships every year. And one year, my Andy was like, I know this guy. He's called Wirab, and he's pretty good. He's pretty good because Wirab did come off a Springfest before, and we kind of knew of him, but we didn't know him. But then we started talking wow, this guy's pretty good. We actually bought our first English deck from him, a Great Nature. And then from there on, we started talking more and getting more into it. And then kind of Wirab just knows everyone. He's really good at connecting with people. So he started talking with us, then started connecting with more people around the world because he went to Worlds once as well. And then he just knew everyone from around the world from that experience. So So you knew all the people, and then we kind of just all coalesced into one bigger group, and that's kind of where we are at now.
Crazy, crazy. And how has that experience been like for you so far? Like how has it been for you being a person who kind of just more or less did events on his own, or maybe did with friends and stuff, now to being one of the pioneering or one of the frontier forces of competitive Vanguard at the moment?
I think it's interesting, I guess. When I think of most card game players, including me, we're kind of more introverted. We like, we have our small friend groups maybe that we just always talk to, and then like exclude everyone else. But then when you start traveling to tournaments, you meet more people, and I actually do like meeting a lot of like more people, learning where they're from and what they like doing and all that. Even though I'm not as extrovert, but I guess if you compare it with everyone else, I'm a bit more extroverted than them. But overall, yeah, it's good like knowing people, like meeting people, and overall, I don't think much has changed in terms of mentality, because we always like to find new things, try out new decks and stuff like that to try and bring things to to win, right? To make some silly combo. So I don't think it's changed there, but there's just more heads getting together and thinking of things and thinking of more stupid things as well.
So getting like more or less multiple chefs to work on the same stew in the same pot.
Yes,
what comes
yes.
out of it. Okay, fair enough. I mean, you were talking a bit about traveling as well. Going to different events and stuff like that. What has been the most notable events that you've traveled to that kind of stuck with you? I mean, of course you've been to Worlds and stuff, but like, what has been like the smaller things that you're like, oh Jesus, that was so fun for me?
Okay, so I think the first time I traveled to New Zealand was kind of interesting, because I literally just went there and went 0-2 and just and felt really bad. But at the same time, that was the 1 year where there was actually 2 BCS championships happening in the Oceania region at the same date. So there was one in Perth and one in New Zealand. So me and my friends went to New Zealand, like me and Andy and Mark went to New Zealand. And then randomly, getting on the plane, like obviously not on the plane, but we get a message from Kelvin, who's like, "Oh, I got leave randomly, so I'm just gonna go to Perth for no reason and go play at that piece." So we're like, "What the heck?" So we're in New Zealand. I scrubbed to New Zealand, and I'm just getting match results from Perth as well at the same time. We're all having like a nice bonding chat while way more apart than we normally would be.
Okay, fair enough. Just sort of like the interconnectivity of like, even though you're going 0-2 or you're not having that good of a day, at least you can kind of enjoy yourself through your teammates and see how well they do. So I guess that's it's a heartwarming feeling. That's a heartwarming feeling. What surprised you most when putting content together for the channel at the moment?
I think how long editing takes. How long editing takes. It is like, I knew like when I first started, right? I'm like, I'm learning new things, and video editing. Wow, I can cut things. I can like make like text on the video and things like that. You're like learning. Like, wow, that's really cool. But then you realize that editing itself takes a very, very long, more time than you'd normally think. Even like just cutting together like very simple stuff.
Yes.
You have to click the render button, and that can take a very long time too. And then you have to watch it and make sure everything's fine. So that entire process surprised me on like how long it just take overall, and kind of appreciate like the effort that when content creators make new things, you can see, oh man, that's how he did it, and that's actually a not easy thing to do, but it's really cool, and you appreciate that more.
Okay. Well, talking about like sort of like the other video editing stuff or other content creators in general, like you Vanguard tubing, if that's ever a term, tend to be oversaturated with sort of like copycatting things, like people overreacting and clickbait stuff like, oh my god, this top 10 most powerful cards I've created, oh my god, this box opening is so crazy. What sets WCC apart from that type of generic content?
I just want to. It's hard to be like different in terms of like what, because there's just a lot of good content creators, and even the pack opening stuff, right? People like watching that. People like watching people get screwed when they don't get what they want, right? Especially
Sean
in
and
Vanguard.
Floyd is the best feeling ever.
Yeah. So at first, I think we wanted to approach it more like, this is what like top players kind of think when they look at this kind of idea. But in the end, you can you want to approach it in a way that more people can understand too, because probably like X number of people would really care that deeply about the competitive scene. But overall, I just kind of want to promote that, like, at least there's this weird stereotype. Well, I think it's a justified stereotype. A lot of like strong pro players are like huge dickheads, and I kind of want to change that.
I get you, because I guess where
yeah.
people could kind of think that established players who've gone to multiple tournaments, who've done well on multiple events, can kind of have an elitist mindset, and people tend to shame elitist mindsets. But then I can't remember which philosopher, somebody's in chat gonna probably, or in the comment section is gonna correct me about it. I think there was like somebody who wrote a book based on accepting that you are more experienced than a lot of peers around you, and accepting that you can be a bit better. You have the experience to show that I earned what I got, and you shouldn't be shamed for it.
I think the best thing about WCC, even though there's like a lot of strong players in our team, is that we're all generally pretty chill people, and that everyone who meets us at tournaments, they come back and they come out of it and go, wow, these guys are pretty cool, even though they're pretty good at card games. But, they're actually good people to talk to, and when you talk to them, they're not like, wow, you play Royal Paladin? Who plays that? It's like they're generally a good person, a good-natured person, and helpful in their interactions.
Okay, that's good. I mean, talking about friends in general, or people you play a lot of Vanguards with, what's it actually like for you in Australia? What's the Vanguard scene like there?
I think it depends on the city you go to. Like Melbourne has like a more centralized community. Perth has a more centralized community as well. Sydney is surprisingly separate. Like, we've got a lot of separate Vanguard groups, because there's usually a bunch of stores that people just like going to, and they just keep on going there every time. They don't really travel that much. And then there's also just friends places. Like, a lot of times, especially recently, I just go to our local card shop, which is Kelvin's house. So we just test there a lot of times, and also it's a good place to like make content, I guess, because there's a fast internet connection, which is a rarity in Australia. So
from what I've heard, you guys are rivaling Comcast in the US. So
I mean, I remember there was like a week after a storm where my house had like no power. So we're getting to that level. We're like, wow, this is crazy. Like Solemn messaged me, he's like, can you test today? I was like, no, dude, I have no electricity at my house. It's like, what the heck? So yes, these amenities we might take for granted, they're a rarity in Australia.
But talking about testing in different locations and stuff, like, you have a lot of international players from all around the world and stuff. What other play styles like have you noticed, or some of the staple things you've noticed, things of like EU, NA, OCE, SEA, and JP? What are some of the key points that you've noticed in your years playing?
I think so. There's this weird, well, not weird, but there's this misconception that like American players are more aggressive than Japanese players, and that's how the metas are different. But that's not actually true. They're actually just pretty similar in terms of that idea. But I think the one thing I've noticed is that Southeast Asian players like to damage deny a lot. Even in standard, they like to damage deny a lot. I have games where you hardly get any damage. That's compared to their other counterparts across other regions. That is the one thing that I've actually picked up on. So, yeah, Southeast Asian players, when you play them, they probably don't give you much damage, and then you just feel bad because you can't counterblast to it.
What about the EU players, actually, then? Since you mentioned most of those, you mentioned NA and JP already.
I've only, like, with EU, we actually don't have that many EU players on our team. We've got, like, Togen and Solemn, but I think that's pretty much it. But in terms of play styles, I think they're kind of similar to just the overall Western players. I won't jump into is EA better than the US.
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. No, I'm just saying like sometimes you know, a EU mentality could kind of be just sort of trying to figure out to get the more incremental card advantage. You would have sometimes more control periods in comparison to other card games. Those are statistics we've seen a lot, like over other card games in general, where you know EU tends to play a lot of control decks in comparison to other like other areas.
I think if you want to put like that way, probably EU has more people who like to stick with their clan more. Like you got like Mo, I think you got Hearth on your team that likes to stick with Spike Brothers.
Yeah.
But then like the US in general like probably has those players too. I just probably don't know them. But and like the US is also very big as well. So.
Extremely so. Extremely so.
Yeah. So I'd say like when you see like the results on like the Bushiroad site, you probably see more like I'd say like random like top 8 decks in terms of, like you wouldn't. Whoa, is that a Tachikaze or something like that? But
yeah.
I think overall, right? It's kind of similar in like just in general.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, that's interesting. Are there any things that you felt so far in terms of your career? You know, spanning almost a decade now. Whoo, feeling old yet? Almost a decade of.
Try not to think about it.
Almost a decade of playing this card game. That something you would say to yourself, you know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that you take with you now. Would you want to tell yourself?
That's a hard question. Not much, I guess. I'd be like. The only thing that I might have changed is, you know, just jump into content creation more, because I actually found that more fun, like a lot of fun, since I started. But apart from that, just playing in general, not really. I think I don't like to have any regrets. All right, so even if I like played like I don't know, I wouldn't want to tell like don't play card games. They're bad for your health. So yeah, no, I don't like to have any regrets, and I just say, yeah, it's pretty good.
All right.
I mean, pretty smooth sailing.
All right. Now talking about other card games. No, actually, I won't. No, in terms of card games in general. Actually, what's your favorite clan? I mean, actually, that. Oh my God, I haven't asked you that. What's your favorite? What's your favorite clan? And what have you been having most fun with?
It's hard to say. My favorite clan.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd probably be Link Joker, because I like the aesthetics of it. Because
Nice.
I like it's great to have your. It's the only clan which has the red stroke lines around all the card decks.
Fair enough. Whether they be good or evil, they have the nice, cute little red line around it, so that makes sense.
I mean, no one else likes it, so unfortunate.
Fair enough. And what has been the the deck that you've like stuck with the most in terms of whether I guess Link Joker would probably be that deck you stuck the most with, or is it any other deck?
I generally play like a lot of decks, like many decks, just because usually I'm the testing guy for my local team. So I'm like, do you need testing? What do you need testing? Is all these decks? Yeah, let's start doing it. I guess I always at least test Link Joker every single meta, just to see if it's any good or not. So I'd say that. That's probably, if I wanted to pick one, I'd say Link Joker. Yeah.
Okay.
I think in more tournaments, I think I've taken OTT more often.
All right. In terms of casting that you've done so far for like events and stuff like that, who has been one of the most fun people you've worked with so far?
Just DF, right? Easier. I think casting premium finals of DF was the best. Like it was actually a perfect setting. We're pretty much in sync as well, because we kind of just played off each other very well, I think, in that. So that was really fun casting with DF for premium finals, and we had that great GB8 like finale. So yeah, everything kind of just went together, and it was really good.
Okay. And then in terms of Vanguard Zero, what have you been enjoying so far about Vanguard Zero, and what has been some of the favorite tournaments that you've seen so far?
Nostalgia, man. You get to see all your old cards, and they're back. But the first Japanese championship was probably the best, I guess, because I think when you think of Vanguard Zero, and it's somewhat true sometimes, is that it's just a very, very luck-sacky game. Some guy just attacks you, just take damage, you die, don't draw nulls and like that. But I think the first Vanguard Zero Japanese championship tournament kind of showed that there was more to that than just smoking face all day. There was a lot more plays that you could do, and like that's how do you say, that instance, that meta game itself promoted that very well, and although metas kind of changed, at least you could see some element of what Vanguard Zero could be. And like they recently had another tournament, just another championship tournament, and you see like it's like a different style, and I think that's also good too, because although the first tournament emphasized more like skillful play, the second one showed more variety, because instead of just Dot and like MLB, you at least got Narukami, some different flavors of Narukami, and you got like Spike Brothers. So at least there's like a more variety there. But I think the first one would always be just like the best tournament for Vanguard Zero. It just showed a lot of potential.
All right. Let's see. We got a few more questions, and then we can kind of round it up, and you can do the whole plug thing. What has been, in terms of metas, actually, that I heard you mention that, what has been your favorite TCG meta, actually, in the, like, close to the decade if you've been playing? What's been, like, the funnest?
GBT14.
GBT14. A lot of people, actually, consider that to be one of the worst formats, actually.
So, I think when you play it at a more, like, competitive level, or, like, because the initial conception of, or the initial like perception, I mean, of GBT14 is Nubatama, because you have Renee, and Geek Chronicle, because you have Heritage, right? You just heal Heritage, right? So that's just the like when GBT14 came out, like, yes, those two decks, that's it, game's done, right? But when you play it, and then when you look at the meta as it progresses over time, you see Nubatama's like, sure, it's very strong, but then you realize that people get better. They can play around Renee, and then later on you had Gize becoming a thing, and then you had decks, you had to tech your deck against Gize, and then but Nubatama actually couldn't, so it just became a bad matchup for Nubatama as well. But then things like Luad, they had a good matchup, or at least a decent matchup against Gize, and overall, like, when you look at it like that, and watch how the metagame kind of just grew or evolved or changed, and people realizing new ideas, it became one of the most diverse formats as well, and also rewarded quite a lot of player skill. Because even if you could do a heritage as well in that format, it really depends on your opponent being able to, can they guard it? And sometimes they could just farm up hand and guard it, or you could see some very unorthodox plays to deny you of getting your power plays as well. So yeah, I think if you, for like a more like competitive player, I think GBT14 was one of the best. Oh, there was also Charlotte. Forgot about that. But yeah, that was one of the best formats to be in. I think for casuals, it might have been pretty hard, because usually casuals just like to play what they like, but that's part of the game too. So but for me, I think GBT14.
All right, and now of course there's the good with the bad. So one of the examples of some of the worst you've probably played in.
Right now.
All right, let's unpackage that. Could you explain why?
Well, I think so it's probably not Luad, because we did test a lot of Zarzan is what it's called now. Yep. Zarzan meta, and that became really boring really quickly. So Zarzan meta would probably be the worst, and then it'll be either one of. So there's the big 3 V metas that everyone hates. That's like Melody, Riviere, and currently Luad. And I think like out of all of them, Riviere is probably the least worst, and then there'll be like Melody or Luad, one of them. So one of those, I guess, just because they're very one deck formats, very high roll. You couldn't really play any other decks. But yeah, probably the worst is Zarzan.
Alright, okay. Would it be anything you probably see in Bushiroad's future that you would like to see introduced into the game? Anything you would like?
I think they need to they need to lower the power a bit because I know they want to sell product and they want to make it so games don't go too long. So that's why they promote a more attacking playstyle. But want to like have a better balance between attacking and defending, and overall just more, like less power creep. Because I think Vanguard, if you think about it, is at the beginning of Vanguard, it was like a game that you could get into. It wasn't very expensive, and you basically just need to update your favorite clan like once or twice a year, and you're basically done, right? But as they're kind of moving now, it kind of becomes like gotta update your new deck every month. Gotta buy a new clan every month as well, or your clan becomes not very good, kind of thing. So I think they really need to move away from that and kind of go back to their roots, which is kind of, at least they don't have to go way back, but somewhere in between would be nice.
Okay. So I think what some other players have kind of suggested was more have specific set packs for clans and not have them shared in one set. What do you think of that?
I think that would be a bad idea, because you'd have something like, here's the Mega Colony set, and then no one would buy it. Here's the Tachikaze set, and no one buys it. So that's why the tactic set never worked, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a good idea at all. But they'll probably need to find a better way to distribute all the clans and maybe make them a bit more appealing. So you think of Mega Colony, you think of bugs. Like they try to do Ghidorah, and it's like, whoa, Ghidorah is cool, but overall it's just bugs, right? But there's going to be better ways to make Tachikaze a bit more appealing, Mega Colony more appealing. Spike Brothers, I guess Spike Brothers is a big, decent following in the West. But yeah, there's a lot. I think as long as they try to make it more appealing and then kind of separate them out in a different way, rather than here's a set that no one wants to buy, but shops have to buy them anyway to at least have stock. I think it'd be better. I mean, they did a good, well, I guess, I don't know if you call it a good job, but they basically put like the shadow tactics, right? In the current one. And this is selling like hotcakes, but it's also because everyone just wants to
It's like, hey buddy, do a case split with me. Yeah, I want the Ghidorah, but I'll give you $75 for it. Yeah, sure. Sure. Just for playset, everything you need, $75. It's fine. I got you. I just want the SP pack from Luard. I'm good. But in terms of like the distribution practices and stuff, like have you been, like, I guess like in terms of the competitive environment that you guys have, do you have like any Nostradamus moments that you're like, I predict in the future that this card could be possibly good? Do you happen to have those notions that you thought, oh, this thing came to pass, or was it like, well, I'll see what we got, we'll talk from there?
I'm like, unless the card is very obvious of how broken it'd be, I'd be like, I would say I'm not very good at that, because if I was, then I would have bought a lot of packs of like BTO 7 at like $3 prices when everyone was trying to dump it, and I'd just get like $20 free travel. Yeah, overall, I don't think I'm very good at predicting that kind of stuff. I'll leave it more to the better minded players than each of them.
But in terms of the better minded players in your environment, like which one of your 29 teammates, by the way, 29 teammates, have you felt like, oh my god, his ideas are actually pretty insane, and like in a good way, not like in a bad way?
It's like, without it sounding corny, I think everyone has their like talents. So, so that's like you think of like Solemn. He's like very smart in business. I like talking to him about just pretty much anything. Like other people. No, everyone is talented in their own way. So I think it's hard to just say he's better than him, but yeah, everyone is like, they're either good at being hardworking, they're either good at just being good at like business, or they're good at even just playing. Like, since we're a competitive card team, I guess we still need good players. So
of course, of course. But I love the whole political approach you take into it. It sounds like a mom who got asked like, "Who's your favorite son?" All of them are
All of
pretty
them.
good. All of them are pretty good, actually.
They're all talented in their own way.
Yeah, they're my special little snowflakes. Well, all right. I think that's a good way to end it. Everybody's special. Nobody. Everybody.
No, but the most special is Wirab. He is the Lord. He's the creator.
not the boss, by the way. Not the boss, by the way. But thank you, Kai. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking your time to stop by. Thank you for the interview. Is there any plugs, any projects that you're working on, anything you want to announce and talk about?
Oh yeah, go check out our YouTube, World Class Fighters. We have our Twitter. We have a Twitter now. It's at Wirab. Yeah, we finally set it up. It's at Wirab Cardfight, and we got Wirab Cardfight Consulting on Facebook, and then I'm Trans Graham on Twitter. And yeah, just go check us out. We have our site as well. I think it's like Team WCC. But you'll find it in all our links everywhere. So if you know one of our things, you get to the other one. So yeah, go check that out. And yeah, it's been great having an interview with you. It's been very should I say pleasurable? That sounds really bad.
I mean,
enjoyable. That's right. That's the correct word. Enjoyable.
Pleasurable doesn't have to be a bad thing.
It's like in 5Ds, team satisfaction.
Okay, I see what you mean. That could actually be a bad thing, indeed. Not too PG, indeed. I see what you mean. But thank you, Kai, and thank you guys at home for tuning on in and stopping on by. Be awesome, stay awesome, guys. Have a wonderful day. Like, comment, share, subscribe.
That's right.